In this video, I wanted to talk about the Uncharted collection. If you didn't know, I recently got a PS4 last month, so I did just pick up the Uncharted collection. If you're not aware, I never actually played the Uncharted series now or ever. I never actually played it, and I know I should be ashamed of myself. It's one of those games that you need to play if you are a gamer, and I did pick up Uncharted. Honestly, I never actually played it when I got my PS4 as well. I've had so much on my plate, I never got around to playing it. So now I'm finally playing Uncharted, and I wanted to talk some stuff about the Uncharted games and talk about my experiences and things like that. Now, if you don't know what Uncharted is, there's probably a whole bunch of different games you can compare Uncharted to out in the market. But the best way I can describe it as a gamer is I describe it as what if PlayStation had Gears of War. Yes, Gears of War. In my opinion, I think it plays similar to Gears of War. You have all your weapons selection on the D-pad, which Gears of War had. It has the same cover system where you got to cover on walls. Your guy covers on walls, and then you also have the same health system where you don't have a health bar, but you take damage, and if you cover long enough, you can get all your health back. So there's very similar stuff from the Gears of War series to the Uncharted series, and they're both third person games, third person action adventure type games. And they both have online. The sad part about the Uncharted collection, unfortunately, it doesn't have online. I don't know if the original games had online. I think they actually did have online, at least some of them. But the collection has no online whatsoever, so you're stuck to the single player stuff. And honestly, that is the meat and potatoes of Uncharted or Gears. That's going to be where you're going to be spending most of the time. I wouldn't say you're really buying it for the multiplayer. You really want to experience the story, and that's really where the game does shine, in my opinion. Even with Gears. Sure, people can say, oh, the Gears multiplayer is fun and whatnot, but when you're really buying these games for the story alone. Now, honestly, let's talk about the games. Now, here's the collection right here. I do own the collection. I own the Uncharted collection. Now, this is a collection of all three of the first games on the original PS3. So we have Drake's Fortune, Among Thieves, and Drake's Deception. This does not come with Uncharted 4, and I don't own Uncharted 4, which I'm definitely going to pick up in the future because I am loving this collection. So far, I've only put in about 5 to 6 hours with Drake's Fortune. I just started it like today. And what I can say with Drake's Fortune, I love the game. Now, it's a very actiony game, but it's very linear. There's some puzzle solving. The one thing that I don't remember Gears having, I did play Gears 1, 2, and 3. I didn't play, I think, Judgment, and I didn't play Gears 4, but I am a big Gears of War fan for the most part, and I played the first 3. And what I can say is one thing that this has that Gears of War doesn't have, again, I'm making a lot of references to the Gears of War series because, well, it's very similar in my eyes. And one thing this has over Gears is it has a lot of platforming in them, so if you love a lot of platforming, then this is a series that you're probably going to love. It's actiony with a lot of platforming, which Gears never had a lot of platforming as far as I remember. I don't think it had much or very little or any at all, but that's one thing. In terms of the graphics of this game, are very beautiful. Now when it comes to the first one, because I am just started playing the first one, I'm about 5 hours in, I can't really make a judgment off of that, but with at least the first one, you can see the age of it just slide. A lot of people are saying the mechanics of the game, like the platforming, is clunky. In my opinion, just playing 5 hours of it, I can already get the feel of most of the platforming, and in my opinion, I don't think the platforming is clunky at all. I think it's smooth, buttery, and it's not really clunky or anything like that. Maybe later on they're saying that it could be clunky, but in my experiences, I'm not experiencing any of the platforming to be clunky. But then again, I'm only 5 to 6 hours into the game, and the way you actually fight in the game is going to be just like Gears of War. You have a lot of weapons, and the weapons you use are going to be guns. So you have shotgun, you have Uzi, you have a standard pistol, you have an AK, you have a rocket launcher. So you have those type of weapons, and then you take cover behind stuff. Honestly, for me personally, for some reason, I find it a little bit clunkier when it comes to actually clamping on walls or taking cover in that game compared to Gears of War. I personally think Gears of War has a better cover system when you're taking cover from the enemies. I personally think that, but it can go either way, honestly. And honestly, for this game, for some odd reason, like Gears of War, I always played it like a gamer. I don't want to be out and about, like out and out. I want to always take cover, but for some reason when I'm playing this game, I always want to be out there trying to kill them. I'm not really behind cover. I know, shame on me, and I actually die a lot due to it, but that's just the way I love playing this game. One thing I love about this game as well is when you're actually controlling the main character. I think it's Nathan Drake. I'm not sure because I wasn't too much paying attention, but he can actually roll, and I think he's actually much more versatile, or he moves much more quicker than some of the Marcus Phoenix, I think, is the main character of the Gear series, and he moves a little. When they roll a little bit clunkier and they're a little bit slower. But I feel like he's much more agile, and he's just more faster on his feet. So I tend not to stay in cover. That's just my gameplay, but it does tend to get me killed a lot. Now, also the settings of these games are very, very different type of games. Gears of War is obviously more grittier, sci-fi-y, like it's kind of like Halo. I mean, it's not first person, but it's third person, but it's more on the sci-fi type deal. This one, the best way I can compare this game as well to any type of movie, I can compare this to Indiana Jones. If you love Indiana Jones, then you're probably going to love this. Now, you don't get a whip or anything, but you get guns. But the atmosphere of the game is all jungly, all toony, and things like that. So that's where I get the references from Indiana Jones series from this game. Overall, what I can say is I think this is definitely worth the money. It's going right now for a solid $17 to $20, depending on where you buy it. Used, new, you can probably even get it cheaper than 17, maybe 15, maybe 14. I definitely would recommend the Uncharted collection for a solid game. Now, this is not the type of game you're going to be replaying unless you're like me and love replaying games, because I can see this game, like Gears, does not have a lot to offer when it comes to replayability, especially when you get the collection. You don't have any online multiplayer, which makes it worse. The thing is, though, when you get Uncharted 4, that's when it has multiplayer. So if you want a game that has multiplayer, then definitely look forward to Uncharted 4. And without a doubt, I know Uncharted 4 was built from the ground up for the PS4, so it's obviously going to look very, very awesome. And that game as well does take full advantage of the PS4 Pro, so you can play that in, I think, 1440p, 2K, 4K, upscaled. So it is going to look very awesome. A lot of people have been saying is the first one's not the best one, not just in age and the platform, but overall it's just not the best. But once you get to the second one is where it really became a very awesome series. And then from there on, it just kicked total ass. I cannot say that for sure because I'm still playing through the first one, but I guarantee you I'm going to like every single one of them. And I just love this series. And this is the first game I played on PS4 so far, I think. Don't quote me on this, and also I'm not sure, but this is the first game I personally own that actually takes full effect of the light bar. When you're taking damage on the controller, you can actually see the light bar changing colors, and I do have obviously one of those new controllers that actually has the light bar on top of the touchpad, so you can see the light bar when you're playing, and you can see it when you're taking damage. It turns red, different colors, and I think that's a very nice touch too. Did they have to put the sensor bar on the PS4 controller? No, Sony didn't have to do that, but I think that's a very cool touch, and they did go ahead and update it, so I am getting the better experience, unlike the people who played this when the PS4 came out, if they played the Uncharted collection, because now I can see the light bar. Overall, I am very, very happy with this. And these games are in, I think, true 1080p 60. I'm not sure about the 60 part, but I know they're in 1080p. And honestly, for a game that came out on the PS3, this definitely does not look like PS3 games. You can kind of see, at least the first one, you can kind of see its age, but overall, it looks very, very gorgeous, especially if you're playing on a true 1080p, probably even a 4K TV. It's going to look very, very nice. I am very, very glad I am playing this game. I can't wait to play the rest of them in this collection. I think Naughty Dog did a flat-out fantastic job when it came to the Uncharted games. One thing also I will say I do love about the Uncharted series, I love the fact that if you ever played Gears of War, you will know when you get close to an enemy, you can melee him, but the meleeing sucks in Gears of War. But the main thing you do in Gears of War is, if you play Gears of War, you'll know that there's one gun, the main gun, I forgot what it's called, the Lancer. You can actually chainsaw people, and that was so satisfying, chainsawing people, going yee and chainsawing them. One thing that this game doesn't have over Gears of War is it's not really very bloody at all. There's very minimalistic blood, at least from what I played, and I don't think there'll be much blood. But the good news is with this game is there is explosions from time to time, and if you want a game with a lot of explosions or some explosions, then this is going to be it too, because there's times where things are exploding and everything. And also, one thing about this game is it is very, very satisfying to play. Like, most of the guns I've used don't feel like they're little cheap, like toy guns. They actually feel like when you're shooting them, especially like the AK. When you're shooting an AK, you can feel you're holding an AK in your hand. It's like, brrr, it feels like it's really powerful. Same thing with the shotgun, and same thing even with the pistol. They didn't really skimp out on the sound effects or like the rumble or anything like that. They all feel like they're very useful and very powerful guns. But back to what I was saying was one thing I love about the Uncharted series. I love the fact that when you get close to enemies, you can actually do hand-to-hand combat. And it's not like cheap tacked on hand-to-hand combat. It's not like an afterthought, kind of like Gears of War melee, besides the chainsaw lancer. The regular melee is pretty bad in Gears of War. The actual combat in this, when you get hand-to-hand combat, is very satisfying, and it's very awesome to see. I think the main character, Nathan Drake, kicking ass, and it's very satisfying. And it's also really cool, too, if enemies get on you, you can actually do hand-to-hand combat. I absolutely love that. Sometimes I actually go out of my way to do the hand-to-hand combat, just because it's so satisfying to do, and it's just the animation and everything is just so solid with the game. Overall, definitely check out the Uncharted collection on PS4, or even on, if you own a PS3, go ahead and get all first 3 games. Even if they're only in 720p, you'll probably still have a very good time with this series. But you probably already know that, because Uncharted is not an unfamiliar game. It's one of those highly top-rated games, and it's a very good series altogether. I can't believe Naughty Dog grew up as a company. Naughty Dog used to make games like Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter, and I played those games growing up as a kid, and they really grew up with gamers. Now a lot of gamers are in their 20s and 30s, and they really grew up with gamers, and they've made a fantastic job. I don't know who makes The Last of Us. I think Naughty Dog makes The Last of Us, and I've heard that game is actually life-changing. Like, the story is phenomenal. I mean phenomenal. That is one series I will have to play on my PS4 as well, The Last of Us. I know The Last of Us 2 is coming out really soon in the near future, but I can't wait to play that. But right now, I'm loving the Uncharted collection. Honestly, I know this may sound biased or whatnot, but I actually love this, I think, more than Gears of War. The only thing Gears of War has is the chainsaw. It's more sci-fi, and it's much more bloodier. If you love guts and blood, then Gears of War is for. That's one thing this doesn't have. You're basically fighting regular humans in this. There's no aliens or anything. I'm not going to spoil any story or anything, but you're fighting humans, and it's more like in the Amazon. It's more like in temples and things like that. But honestly, I love this game. So far of what I played, I've only played 5 to 6 hours. Anyway, guys, peace out. I'll see you guys later in my next video. I'm out, guys.